different type of guest. True Pettigrew. He's the Minnesota Timberwolves Vice President of Player Programs, Diversity and Inclusion. And as you know, the professional teams in Minnesota, the Twins, the T-Wolves, and the hockey team, I can't think of their name.
Minnesota
The Wild, yes. They are not playing today because of the latest shooting, which took place yesterday, the police shooting of an unarmed 20-year-old African-American man.
They've already ruled it. They ruled it a homicide.
It's already ruled as a homicide?
That's what I saw. I read that.
Okay.
Well, that was quick. I'm just saying, normally that.
To me, that's good because she said, she clearly shot him, and she said she was she thought she was using her taser instead of a gun. One, that sounds like a lie, but if it's not, if you don't know the difference, if you're a cop and you don't know the difference between a taser and a gun, you shouldn't be in that position. It's as simple as that. So we'll see how that plays out, but that's interesting. I hadn't heard that yet, Rob. But anyway,
I just saw it somewhere. Like I'm trying to find the story, but I did see. It wasn't a tweet; it was a news story. I just can't find it.
That's part of his job is to deal with the players, and these are young African American men going through. Look, Rob. Let's face. I was just talking to a friend of mine, one of my college teammates in basketball, who lived in Minnesota and Minneapolis, and in fact, he lived in the suburb next to Brooklyn Center, which was a suburb that Dante Wright was killed in. He lived right next door. I think it was called Brooklyn Park. Mm-hmm. And he's got a sons. One is 24 and the other, I believe, is 20. And he's concerned. He's like, what? I've got daughters. I'm concerned about them, but obviously it seems to happen more with black men. And if I had a son that age, or it could happen, it's happened to older black men too. But a lot of African Americans I've spoken with who have sons that age are very concerned. And so we'll talk with True and see what you tell, these young players who probably are worried that, you heard LeBron James. LeBron James said he was frightened. And he's LeBron James, who I think everybody would recognize.
I've been pulled over many times, and I've been in that situation, and it's never cool. It's never good because you just don't know. You got too many cops out there, Chris, who are afraid of black men, just period. And you shouldn't be a cop if you're afraid of the people you're supposed to protect and serve. You can't. Just the other day, the other one we saw was the lieutenant in the Army and his fatigues. And, he has, Chris, he knows his rights. You don't have to get out of a car on a traffic stop. They immediately want him to get out the car. For what he drives to a lighted gas station. Does that sound like somebody who wants to do something where cameras are? Do you none of it makes sense, Chris. None of it.
If they'll do that to somebody in Army fatigue,
that's what I'm just saying. Anybody can buy Army fatigue.
But
I get that. But I'm just saying, he knows his rights, Chris. It's a traffic stop, right? It's a traffic stop. Really? Get out the car with guns drawn because your license plate, it's on the back, Chris. It's there.
Yep.
But, of course, they don't see that. They see a brand-new truck and a black guy driving in. I'm sorry. This is what goes on, and it's ridiculous. It's heartbreaking.
I've been texting with a NBA coach tonight who he's going to address his players and talk about this. Because, Rob, you just said it. Black male in a nice car.
Yes.
I think I've said this on the show before. I've never been stopped by myself just for no reason. I've been stopped plenty of times for speeding or whatever. But for no reason, I've never been stopped by myself because I think cops may think I'm white because I'm very light-skinned, obviously. But I've been stopped 3 times, and every time for nothing. And each time I was with African American males who clearly were, dark skin, brown skin, clearly black. One time was an NBA player doing nothing. No, nothing.
And what they
Beverly
what
Hills,
they say, Chris?
They said it was something about he had his LED lights on at the bottom. They didn't give us a ticket or anything, but
No,
said
right,
something
'cause
about his lights were on, which I don't even think
It's a
that was an
it's a
issue.
fishing expedition, Chris.
Right.
Where they're hoping that you got something. Do you know what? Like that's really what it is.
Yep.
I can remember after covering a game down in Landover, Maryland, Chris, the old days, the Bullets. Me, Clifton Brown from the New York Times,
Yep.
another reporter, and my best friend Fred. We were all dropping Fred off from the game after we went out. Nothing. A blinking yellow, we slow down. You're not supposed to stop. You slow down at a blinking yellow, right?
Right.
Blinking red, you stop. Slows down, cops come, pull us over. 4 other cop cars, dogs, everything.
What?
I'm serious. All we're doing is, and 3 of us are, members of the media. It's late, Chris. Game's over. You go out for, a little
Right.
bit, and then it's late. I'll give you that, but it's no crime. And Cliff Brown gets out. He has his New York Times ID, and then all of a sudden everything was all right. They had no cause to stop us. None. It was 4 black guys in the car. That's it, and it was late.
Wow. Well, interesting, Robin, and we didn't mean to kind of get off when I was just introducing one of our guests coming up, but it's interesting because we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving, and we will. They're not playing tonight because they were scheduled to play Minnesota, the Brooklyn Nets. But Kyrie was going to miss the game for personal reasons anyway. Now, I think it came out before
I think it did. I think it did
came
too,
out that he wasn't going to play before.
I had heard that
before Dante
right.
Wright.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't know
I
about
agree.
the Army, the guy that was in the Army.
Yeah, but that happened in December. We just got the body cam. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, that happened in December, and we just finally saw the pictures to go along with that. So that wasn't new.
But this is when Kyrie sat out his first sabbatical, if you will, early in the season. It was at least somewhat related to the events that went on at the Capitol. I don't know if this time, it's related to any of these recent events or not. But what are your thoughts, Rob? I mean, look, we talked about it with Kerry Kittles. Maybe the Nets. I'm sure, Rob, they have some type of understanding with Kyrie. I would think Kerry, he's a former Net. I'm sure he's plugged in with that team.
He's got people there. He still knows in the
yeah.
building. You know what I mean, on the organization. Maybe not the
Right.
same exact people, but I'm sure he knows some people. Chris, if the Nets know what's going on and they're cool with it, I'm going to be cool with it. And you know this. Teammates, organizations, if there's a problem, they let you know. They might not say it directly, Chris, but they would put something out there if they weren't happy or if there's some issue. Do you know what I mean? Like there would have been something. And Kyrie's a different cat. I can appreciate people being different. Everybody's not the same. If this is what he has to deal with or how he deals with stuff, everybody's different. And it's no excuse. When he's out there, and Kerry said it, when he's out there, he balling. It ain't like he don't want to play or he's not playing or he's not pulling his weight, Chris. When he does come back,
It
but
feels
sure.
incredible, Rob, that because and we don't know this, but from the outside looking in, it kind of feels like basketball is not his priority. It feels, I'm not saying it isn't, but him missing so many games, and it feels that way. He's obviously got many other interests, but on the other hand, he's so good.
No, right.
It's like, how in the world? And obviously, at a younger point in his life, he clearly worked very hard on his game.
Did you see the play made Saturday, Chris, underneath the basket? I can't remember in the first half.
He does it once every half.
But I know, but there was some play. I just shook my head. Like, how did that go in?
He's one of my funnest. He's one of the most exciting players in the league. One of the guys I most enjoy watching, Rob.
Right.
Because the handle is ridiculous. The finishes are ridiculous. He can hit the three. He can hit the mid range. I mean, it's just crazy. But look, I'm with you in that. If a guy's going through something mentally, and he needs a break,
we don't know what. Right.
Then, and he's that good, and not that it shouldn't be the case for the 14th or 15th man, but we know this business, Rob, and in any business really, it's gonna be different for the superstars, right?
Right. If
and
Rob G has an issue, we might have to get another producer.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I'm
Rob
saying? We don't
G,
have time
you
for
better
all
be
that.
here every day.
And you better get here early.
But with Kyrie, you're going to do what you have to do to have him at his best. Rob, there's a part of me that wonders, and I don't know if this is a goal or thought, even a thought in Kyrie's mind, but could something, could down the line in the future, we know that there's been an emphasis on mental health in the NBA. And, we've seen DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Love talk about it. You wonder if something could be at some point where guys if you need a little mental day.
Yeah,
just like you have
mentioned this a
physical
few
load
times.
management. Could it be mental load management?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's definitely unique. Remember, you only play normally 82 games. It's 365 days a year. There's plenty of time. And I'm not saying, Chris, whatever you're going through, I don't know if the NBA's headed to that. I just don't. I think on an individual level, but I don't think they're going to establish like some sort of thing where you can kind of opt out. And I think that it would have to, a player would have to just, you know what I mean, like go to ownership and say, man, I'm going through this and I need time. You know what I mean? And then they'd have to evaluate him, have him see a doctor or whatever, and then go, okay, yeah, this dude's under some stress and some things are going on in his life that he needs to take a mental break.
Yeah, I don't see that becoming an official thing anytime soon, if ever. But it's interesting. It really is an interesting situation. And I'll tell you this, Rob, and like you, I've picked the Nets to win it. If they win it, and obviously they're more talented than anybody else. I think even the teams that are trying to beat them probably admit that the Nets have the most talent in the league. So they're an aberration. They're an unusual situation. But Rob, if they win this championship, I got to be honest, I think it's going to change. It's already changed. Like the way players look at the regular season has already changed. If they win it, it is going to change, I think, drastically. We already have some players who don't think the regular season is as important because it's really all about winning the championship. And if they can win the championship with guys missing so many games and taking days off and their stars only played maybe 15, 20 games together, obviously, like I said, no other team has this type of talent. But I do think it could lead to a drastic change in the way guys view the regular season.
Yeah, it is different, but that's up to the league to make it worthwhile again, and that's the thing you don't want to have where your regular season has been, diminished and people don't care about it. If you don't want that.
You don't want it to become March Madness.
Exactly, where they say, the hell with college basketball, I'll see you in March, and that's it. And so you watch 3 weeks of college basketball and you call it a day. That's where college basketball is gone.
Right. Nah, I hear you. You definitely don't want that. So it's your turn to weigh in on the Nets and Kyrie Irving. Let's get to it.
All right, Dre in Michigan, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Dre?
Hey, what it do, people? Y'all all right?
Oh, yeah.
What it look like, bro? What it look like?
Oh, it looked very well. Chris, my
what
man, I got to thank you
like.
for that quote from Friday about the hard times make strong man. That's mine now. Yeah, made a shirt out of that. That belongs to me.
That's a good one. Go ahead and take it. Yes.
Hey, also too, how you broke down the difference between the ER and the A versus the N word. It's not a difference; it's just the way we speak it, but it means the same thing. Thank you for that.
Right.
All right, so
Thank
enough
you, brother.
roses for
You're
you.
welcome.
So
I
now on to the
appreciate it.
Nets. I think that's gonna come back to haunt them only because now's the time where you build up that continuity. So when you come time when you got to get down in the mud, you can trust your brother. You know your brother got you. When like let's say on the defensive assignment, okay, I can let my man slack because I know what you gonna do. You got to build that camaraderie now. You can't just go into the playoff thing like, okay, boom, we got it. Yeah, y'all got all the talent in the world, but eventually y'all gonna have to rely on y'all chemistry too.
Not look, it's legit. Like I've said, Rob, if they win this championship, it'll be wholly unprecedented. I mean, they got the talent to, but we haven't seen it happen this way. But we'll see. It'll when they get in the tough moments, the grind out games, if they're challenged in a series, and remember though that Golden State team, Rob. Now, obviously, the other guys outside of Durant had it. But remember, KD was hurt for a long stretch in the first year, right? Toward the end of the season. And he
Yep.
came back and he was ready for the playoffs. And obviously, they just ran through everybody. So we will see. But it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Tony in D.C., you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Tony?
Fellas, what's good? Always glad to hear you guys' voices. Always
Yes,
starting
sir.
the week off with you cats. God bless. Two things here. I think that they won't have a problem because out of every team in the East, the two most important players on the Nets are championship and battle tested. Kyrie, I believe, was on that team down 3-1. He knows what it's like to hit the big shot in the big moment.
Absolutely.
KD knows how to hit the big shot in the big moment. So even if they do have some rough waters, they got the two guys like, hey, guys, we're going to be okay. Play our game. This is what we got to do. And these are the two top dogs on your team that even Harden has to listen to because he hasn't been to where they've been and experienced what they experienced. So I think even Steve Nash might fall back a little bit and lean on these two guys. So that's what I think.
So you think those two are more important than Harden?
Well, as far as leadership-wise, as far as like getting to say if they get to the East Finals, Game 7, or the Finals, Game 5.
Just
and
that they've got
2-2.
guys who've done it before, right?
Yeah, they've done it.
Right.
So Harden might take a back seat, like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna play my game. I mean, he might go on, confidentially. Hey, KD, how do I get over the hump now? Sometimes you got to swallow your pride,
Or
and
maybe
just,
it's easier to play though when you know you got
It
those
will
other
be,
two guys.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying,
It will be
right?
easier
Like,
to play.
Yeah, 'cause
it
we
ain't
can say a
all
lot
on. It
about
ain't
him off
all
the
on
court.
It was
him.
the case for Durant and Golden
Right.
State.
Yeah.
Let's just face it. Yeah. For LeBron in Miami.
Thanks, Tony.
You know?
Appreciate it. Let's go to Andre in Massachusetts. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Andre?
Hey,
What's
thanks for
going on,
taking my
guys?
call.
Yeah. Here in
We need somebody to
Massachusetts,
do that. Alex, can you do Andre?
Yeah,
Thanks
wait a
for
minute. Let's
taking
see.
my call.
Yeah, you guys ready? Here we go.
Here
Yeah,
we
guys,
go.
thanks for taking my call.
Thanks
There
for
you
taking
go.
my call.
There you go. Let's
Is
get
that
that
you,
on tape.
Andre?
taking my
We got
call.
you.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
Massachusetts, by way of Summit, New Jersey. Chris knows about Summit,
Oh,
New Jersey.
yeah. That's where my
Central.
daughters went
You
to
know-
high school in summer.
What
Exactly.
exit is that? What exit was that? Is that 8 or 9?
And little
40
known, you know the exit?
I get off at like 42 Springfield Avenue, and I take Springfield Avenue right through Irvington. My family, my grandfather, he actually lives in Union, and I was born
Okay.
in Summit, so that
Okay.
area is near and dear.
Little
Area's near
known
and dear.
fact, Ice-T as a kid Ice-T the rapper, lived in Summit.
Did he
before
really?
he went to L.A., yeah. Don't exactly
He's out-
match his gangster persona,
No,
but
right.
before he went to L.A., he lived in Summit.
Where
yeah.
was he born? In Summit, New Jersey?
I don't know if he was born there. He may have been. I think he was, but I'm not positive. We can look it up.
All
but
right,
yeah,
Andre, what do you got?
But go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, real quick, we have to get to Kyrie Irving, who's over there, obviously from West Orange, New Jersey. If these antics continue, the Brooklyn Nets are going to have serious problems with the Philadelphia 76ers. And don't count out the Milwaukee Bucks. These teams, in terms of their defense, are tried and true. So if they get in a dogfight, a nip and tuck type of series, and one of these three guys, most notably Kyrie Irving and or James Harden, goes off the reservation, they can get bounced in the East before they make it to that matchup with the Lakers. They got to get it together and be unified to go into the playoffs. Thanks for the time.
All right. We got it. He was born in Newark, Rob, Ice-T.
Wow.
But he grew up, he lived in Summit, yeah. Very pleased to welcome in our next guest. He is the Minnesota Timberwolves Vice President of Player Programs and Diversity and Inclusion, True Pettigrew. Welcome to the Odd Couple.
What's happening?
Thank you. What's up, gentlemen? Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you on, brother. And look, obviously the Timberwolves game was canceled tonight or postponed because of what's going on in Minneapolis Sunday, the killing of Dante Wright. And I imagine your job is challenging all the time, but your responsibility, correct me if I'm wrong, is to talk with the players and comfort them, educate them, soothe them, just deal with their emotional and mental state and make sure that they're fine in that regard. Is that what you're called to do? And then how do you do it in a situation like this?
That's correct, Chris. It is to help educate them and provide some sense of healing whenever there are crises or traumatic moments like this, like we've experienced, and similar to what we are still experiencing with the Derek Chauvin trial with the death of George Floyd, is to provide, as you've said, some guidance, some direction, and ways to provide healing, resolution, and reconciliation where necessary.
How about where pro sports is? I mean, if this was 4 or 5 years ago, the show must go on. I mean, let's just be honest. The NFL, if I remember, played games after Kennedy was assassinated, if you could believe that. And now, when these unfortunate things happen in our communities, these sports teams and leagues pull the plugs on games. We've come a long way. Is that a good thing? What does that say about where these leagues are?
I think it is a good thing, Rob, because it's really speaking to the evolution of how we are recognizing the humanity, not only of the members of society, but also the players, and recognizing that they are members of these communities and members of the society, and that they are dealing with trauma themselves and still having the expectation to go out and play and perform. And, it's a case-by-case basis, is sending the message that is not as significant as playing this game. And so I think we have come a long way, and I think it is a good thing because it speaks to how we've prioritized human feelings and emotions and the sensitivity that comes with that. I think there's a place for empathy in business, and it's my belief that the more we realize that, the more successful holistically that our organizations, institutions, and businesses will be.
True. How is this affecting the players? I mean, obviously, we don't want you to mention individual names, but, just generally, what are some of the things, the different emotions and feelings that some of the different players have with these incidents?
It ranges, Chris, from frustration to anger to confusion and I guess probably the most consistent, I guess, emotion, if you want to call it an emotion, is exhaustion. Just exhausted and tired.
Are guys fearful for themselves? They obviously all got nice cars. You know what I mean? That black man in a nice car seems to
driving while
stopped.
black, right?
Yeah, more often.
It's interesting. Had you asked me that a year ago, that may have been a little more accurate. I'm not hearing that right now. I'm hearing more of the frustration, and I think the concern for family more so than concern for themselves. It's it's family members, right? And it's not to say that once this emotional roller coaster, levels off at some point, if it does, but I think right now it's concern for loved ones, concern for family members, concern for friends. Not that any of them are immune to it. That's just not what I'm hearing right now. Like if it was around the time of Ahmaud Arbery, or maybe even a year ago, back last May with George Floyd, I recall maybe hearing more of that then, of concern for themselves. But right now, it's really, I'm just tired. I'm just tired and frustrated and just searching for answers is really what it boils down to right now.
Is there a place also in pro sports, the NBA, for players, you just talked about it, being tired, mentally drained, like this wearing on you, where they can pull back and maybe say, I can't play, or I just need to clear my head for a day or two? Is that open for players to be able to request that, and are teams willing to hear that?
I think so, Rob. I would say that we have gotten to that place where teams and organizations, the Timberwolves organization, as well as other teams, are making sure that the organization is availing themselves and the resources to the players, that whatever you need right now to make sure that you are feeling supported, you are feeling whole, your mental, physical, and emotional health and well-being is a priority. And I believe a lot of teams are really starting to take that approach.
Because True, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you started with the Timberwolves after the George Floyd incident. Did that just seem, obviously the league is overwhelmingly African-American, and seeing that event, did that, to your knowledge, change whether it's just the Timberwolves organization or other teams around the league, or the league itself, how they view the need to help these players and, like you said, bring someone in like you to address these issues with them?
And I can speak from my experience on that, Chris, and you're absolutely right. It was on the heels of the unfortunate incident with Mr. Floyd last May, where I came in to speak with the Timberwolves organization by their request, to speak with the players to address some of their concerns and frustrations and fears, and to help them, provide them with some tools and resources and perspectives, really, to help them understand how to process the information, help them understand how to seek that healing that they were looking for, both mentally and emotionally. And it was around that time that I also went and spoke with the Minnesota Twins, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Minnesota Wild, and the Cincinnati Reds. So it spread. So I spoke with a number of sports teams around that time, which they all reached out to me, so which says that they have all recognized the need for that. And I would imagine a part of that came from internally, the players expressing some frustration, and the leadership in the organization recognizing and realizing, hey, we may need to provide a resource for them to help our players understand how to cope with the trauma that they're dealing with right now.
And I do want to say this, Chris. I don't know if this has been on the updates, to be honest. Aaron Hicks, the outfielder for the Yankees,
yep,
he opted not to play tonight, due to the situation in Minnesota. So there's a player
I saw that earlier on the news.
Yeah, who just decided he couldn't play today and didn't want to play. So he opted not to play for the Yankees. So this is some of the stuff we're talking about.
Well, and
but
true,
Rob,
go ahead.
Rob, to that point, I'll say this, and we forget, because these athletes get paid a lot of money, but
right.
This is their job. There are people who I know, because I do this type of work with corporations and organizations across the country, is that when they have seen these events, historically, whether it was, as I mentioned before, George Floyd or an Ahmaud Arbery or Philando Castile, or you name it, that have felt so out of sorts and traumatized that they weren't in the right frame of mind to show up to work the next day, because it just seemed so insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
And so this is their job. They're human beings, and I think we lose sight of that. So if the person that works at Company X in corporate America feels that way, isn't extended that courtesy. For whatever reason, we don't think that these human being athletes should be extended that same courtesy.
Well, we were talking about that earlier, True, with Kyrie Irving, who, has taken a few breaks this season.
And
one
that
of
personal
them reportedly
reasons
related,
right.
related to the Capitol shootings a few months ago in December. And personal reasons. Now, what would you say to the person that says, because I think a lot of people say, okay, your break, you get 4 months off in between seasons. And that's when you can, catch your breath, so to speak, or get your mind right. But once the season starts and the ball goes up, we expect you to be ready every game, because that's how it's been historically. What would you say to the person that has that perspective?
I would say when these incidents occur, they're not on a timeline. These incidents, these traumatic incidents, aren't waiting until the off season to take place.
Right.
And so if we could put them on a timeline, that's one where they shouldn't be happening at all. But let's think about it. When we're saying that this is happening now, and I don't know if they, quote unquote, took mental health breaks, but I think it was sometime back in the 70s. I was talking to some of the coaches earlier about this. I think it was back in the 70s when we saw Kareem and Bill Russell and Muhammad Ali and Jim Brown really use their platform and take a stand and speak about the social injustices that were taking place even then during their time, and taking a stand to suggest that something needs to be done about this, because this is occupying our headspace, occupying our mind space. And sociologists will tell you, and again, this is where we've evolved, to your point earlier, Rob, that I think it's healthy and commendable for organizations and sports teams to realize that, okay, whatever we focus on is going to occupy our thoughts. And the things that we think about the most affects how we feel emotionally. The things that impact how we feel emotionally influences how we feel physically, ultimately affects how we perform and our productivity. There's a continuum that's triggered with the things that we intake that occupy our headspace. And so it's compromising not only the mental and physical health and well-being of that individual, but from a pure business perspective, you're compromising the quality of the performance and the product that you're providing to everyone involved and every stakeholder. And to me, that benefits no one.
Great stuff, man. Real good insight, True. We appreciate the time,
you.
man.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, keep up the great work with the Timberwolves and the other teams you're speaking to, man. We appreciate it.